Up and at 'em on a Wednesday morning. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, as we get you ready for the Hump Day version, my version of Hump Day. Preston says tomorrow. We do things differently around here, but getting you up and getting you going fresh off a nice, light sports night. So you know what we did, the Gunner family? We followed through on the summer movie series.
Okay. Got
the notes ready for Friday.
I like it. That's a good call. I'm very interested to see what the youngins had to say.
They had seen it before, but unprompted. Summertime, they don't get up to listen to us. They're now getting older and realize they can hear Dad just later in the afternoon. But they unprompted, they called for it. They wanted to watch it. So I said, well, this works perfectly. They had seen it before, but I've got some notes, some scenes, some things that happened that I had forgotten about. So I'm glad we did that. So make sure you do some of your prep if you don't need any other great sports going on, because NBA Finals tonight, we'll get to that. Got some anniversaries that you want to get to.
Big time anniversary today.
Some anniversaries, and then Tony Annan will join us later on this morning. Unprompted, unscheduled. There is soccer talk to be had. I don't know if you followed this last night. USA soccer, men's soccer, very embarrassing.
Oh, that seems par for the course, though, right?
Not. I think the question we may be is, have we reached absolute rock bottom?
Did we lose to a very small country in a very friendly match or something along those lines?
A friendly match, yeah.
Did we lose to a country whose GDP is less than California or something?
I'm not sure on that. You're going into a class that my eyes would glaze over, and I would do the best to stay involved. But yeah, I didn't do this on purpose. But yes, after the Switzerland 4-0 rout that we received last night in Nashville, losing their fourth straight game for the first time since 2007, seems like a good day for Tony Annan to be here, and he'll join us at 7:15. But I tell you what, Jen, if you don't mind, let's hit our most important things of the day.
Now on the early game, let's kick off the show with the MITs. The most important things on the game.
Well, we had a rout the other night in the NHL Finals, 6-1 the Florida Panthers in Game 3 of that series. Maybe it set the tone for the remainder. Tonight in the NBA, as far as I'm concerned, must-win game for the Indiana Pacers. You are back home. You have stole one in Oklahoma City in Game 1 that you didn't deserve to win, but you stole it. You got out of there. That was the name of the game. Tonight is Game 3, Preston, and based on what we played from the Ellisine, and I know this because I listened to him.
Amin El-Hassan. We'll play
Amin El-Hassan. Based on how he previewed the series, how Game 1 really played out, where Oklahoma City dominated for, 47 minutes and 57 seconds, I believe, or 59 seconds, point seven. Coming back, losing that game, but coming back and thumping the Pacers in Game 2 and doing it in a manner where we all went, yeah, that's what we thought. To me, it is a must-win game for the Pacers. You're back home. Your crowd's going to be energetic. They're always a little bit more energetic for the first game back home in the World Championship there. In the NBA Finals. You lose this one, and if you lose it like you did the other night, your Pacers fans are going to look around and be like, yeah, that was a nice run.
And it has been a nice run, and it's been fun, and we really appreciate it. They will get a participation trophy. My Pacers, they are my squad, but we're overmatched. And so tonight is going to be another one. When you start thinking about, can you steal another one? Well, you can't get away with stealing 4 times.
Right.
You're going to have to actually go out and win 1 or 2, and I don't know if they're actually capable of it. Much like the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks, when I said that the Celtics, even though the series was tied, they had won every game of the series, the Thunder are up 2-0. Even though the series is 1-1, the Thunder are up 2-0. And so maybe if they played that, maybe if they did basketball like banana ball. So in banana ball, you win every period. You win every inning in banana ball. If they were doing basketball like banana ball, the Pacers would be losing 7-1. As far as quarters are concerned.
Okay.
So I don't know if we wanted to play it out like that, but yes, the series has been lopsided to this point. they do have to go out and win this game.
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton tonight has got to be on his A game, and quite frankly, I think you mentioned it watching one of the games, I think game 1 or game 2. You said, boy, that Oklahoma City, they play defense like a college team. They're annoying. Their hands are everywhere. And you look at what Halliburton has done, even hitting the game-winning shot in game 1, only 14 points in that game. He has really struggled in this series, but I attribute that more to what Oklahoma City does defensively. I really thought there was a great piece on one of the NBA, Inside the NBA or whatever the NBA shows are that comes on ESPN. There was a great piece on how Oklahoma City defended Ant Edwards and just running different defenders at him and almost wearing him down to the point that he was useless in the fourth quarter. Well, in this series in particular, Halliburton's been better in the fourth quarter than he has been in the first 3. But tonight, they've got to find a way to get him going.
Yeah, Halliburton needs to remember that they played 3 quarters before the fourth quarter. And you have to show up for all of those. And being part of this pledge for being a superstar, this push for being one of the guys, is that you have to be there for the whole game and not just the last shots. Even though that's cool and that's very, very important, and we have a lot of awesome stats and a lot of memories, you got to play the rest of the game.
I think this is also big for you because I'm going to kind of turn on you. I'm allowing you to have your run with the Pacers before we officially hold your feet to the fire on your new NFL team.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah,
that's no problem.
We'll give you this because miracles do happen.
Mm-hmm.
Miracles do happen, and who knows if the Pacers can. That's why I call this a must-win. If the Pacers can win one tonight, maybe you carry your momentum over into Friday night for Game 4. I feel like if you lose tonight, it's a bit of a quick turnaround. And also, I feel like a lot of the fans will look at it kind of like you just did and be like, we're fighting, scrapping, and clawing, but it ain't going to work against this team.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a team of destiny type conversations with OKC right now.
So that is our most important things of the day as we slowly start to wrap up the NBA season, NHL season as well, and move strictly into Major League Baseball here for the month of June, end of June and July. Also, we got the College World Series coming up on Friday, 2 o'clock for Coastal Carolina as well. Also, today, an anniversary for you. Well, not for you, not for us, but an anniversary for the University of South Carolina.
For all of us, for every single person. If you're listening to this show right now, then today is an anniversary for you. Now, whether it's a famous day or an infamous day, that depends on where you say. Today, June 11th, 2024, Bill, the university hired 2 coaches.
Mm-hmm.
2 coaches on the Diamonds, their respective Diamonds. Paul Maneri began his reign, began his era, began his time as a baseball coach. And also, they hired some softball coach too. Yeah, she's an alum. I don't know how that's going to work out. We'll see. But we got Paul Maneri and Ashley Chastain Woodard, as it was reported by all of us at the time. It was like, yeah, man, we got a World Series winning coach, veterans coming back. And, I don't know if she's going to be able to make it in the rough and tumble SEC. And with the benefit of hindsight, we've seen how this sort of have worked out.
Yeah, I think Ashley Chastain Woodard would have received actually a lot more fanfare had it not been Paul Maneri that was hired. Because as you just said, this seems to fit the Ray Tanner mold of baseball coaching. South Carolina did pick up another commitment yesterday. We'll get into that coming up in the next segment to kind of go along with this. It looks like they've looked at the pitching staff and was like, no, let's replace all of you or the majority of you. But I think we all looked at it as the Paul Maneri school of coaching aligned with the Ray Tanner school of coaching, and we know the success Ray Tanner had. Ashley Chastain Woodard, I think at the time, was like, well, great, we're bringing back an alum. This will be neat. Let's see how this works.
Cute story.
She deserves a do-over.
Yeah, I like, Bill, you've been talking about reseeding. We need to do repressers, and we have them go back and run your presser back a year later, and we have to all ask questions about what we thought. Yeah, I like that idea, a represser from the first year.
I think Paul Maneri would want that because of the fact that he said he didn't come here to lose. And apparently they played that on the scoreboard even late in the season. And some people I saw on social media was like, can you at least not edit that portion out for this year? You want to run it back next year? Yeah, go ahead, but take this out. So, yeah, an anniversary day for South Carolina that we'll get into as well. And Jen's suggestion of a represser. Run it back again from year 1. But we'll get into that. A lot to do this morning. Again, Tony Annan due in around 7:15 this morning. A couple of y'all weighing in. Walt, Switzerland is actually a pretty good team. I did know that, but still, Walt says Switzerland is actually a pretty good team, but we are awful. For reference, I believe we are 16 in the world The Swiss are the 18th. Realistically, we're probably closer to 30th in the world. Going to be a short World Cup for the men's team next summer. And then a couple of y'all weighing in. Richard weighing in. Pascal Siakam tonight goes for 30+, and Obi Toppin has a big night. So he's going with your two of y'all. He's going with the Pacers.
Who's that, Richard?
Richard, yeah.
My guy. I've been seeing this thing on social media, and I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Yesers for the Pacers. It's like hashtag YECERS. This is where the internet and the real world don't connect. So, Richard, if you have any information on that, because I was going to say Pacers up, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the proper thing to say for us.
Pacers up.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, we'll get into all of that. So a lot to do this morning, a lot to weigh in on. Also, there was a baseball coach hiring yesterday that we'll track down as well that occurred less than 24 hours after the baseball coach was eliminated from the NCAA regional. How quickly did that contract come together? They must have just been one phone call and an acceptance, right, Preston? There couldn't have been any tampering.
I love this story. I love this. This is one of my favorite stories that's happened this year so far.
We'll let you know what precisely happened this morning as we get you up and get you going here on a Wednesday, June the 11th. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, where the summer of love continues to roll along. That's right, it is the Love Chevy Savings Event going on now, and it has unprecedented opportunities on a wide variety of award-winning Chevys. Whether they are hard to find or whether they are things that you know you already like, get out to Love Chevrolet and the 14 acres of brand new Chevys and check out the incredible deals taking place right now. And the thing about Love Chevrolet, the reason I love being a part of the family so much is the way they care for their customers, their clients. They've been serving the Midlands since 1961, and when you have been serving the Midlands that long, you know they are doing something correct. So go visit Love Chevrolet today. Check out 14 acres of brand new Chevys, the $1,000 low price guarantee, and of course that incredible sales staff. Get out to Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
Woodbury Road near Augusta Highway, there is a report of an accident there, so expect a little bit of a slowdown if you're going through that area. Isolated storms later this afternoon, 89 for the high. Looking for some maybe late afternoon, early evening storms tomorrow. Tomorrow's high, we're looking at 89, 88 on your Friday. But right now, starting off a little bit muggy and 70 on 107.5 The Game.
.618 on your Wednesday morning, the day before the U.S. Open, 2 days before the College World Series gets underway. Tonight is the NBA Finals, Game 3, Preston. So we got a lot of sports ahead of us. But maybe for a few minutes, we're not looking at what's ahead of us. We're looking back at what occurred a year ago from today.
6/11/24. Big day for the Diamond Sports and Gamecock Athletics. We hired a coach who was going to take us to heights we've never seen before. We hired a coach who was going to struggle in the SEC. We hired a coach who would set program records offensively and defensively. We also hired a coach who would set program records offensively and defensively.
More importantly, in the pitching categories.
If I had told you a year ago that on this day we're going to hire two coaches, one of them is going to be a previous World Series winner, the other one is going to be a young upstart coming from the G5. Who would you have thought would have been the one that would have taken this Diamond Sports to the top?
Well, I think we all thought a particular one would. Let's hear from former athletic director Ray Tanner hiring the person who took the team to the next level. This is the opening press conference for Ray Tanner introducing South Carolina's new softball coach. Who? An alum? Sounds good. Here's Ray Tanner.
And we're delighted to have Ashley Chastain back. She was here many years ago as a student athlete for the legendary Joyce Compton. So please welcome Joyce Compton back. Ashley is the 11th head coach in the history of South Carolina softball, and she played here from 2009 to 11. She also served as a graduate assistant in 12. She's the first alumnus to be named a head coach since Boo Major was when she came here a number of years ago. Recently, she was a head coach at UNC Charlotte, where she's been extremely successful. If you follow the 49ers this past season, she won the regular season championship. She won the tournament championship. She won 16 games in a row going into the NCAA tournament. Very, very successful. She had a number of stops along the way in her young career. She was at the College of Charleston as an assistant, Michigan State as an assistant, and Ole Miss as well. And while at Ole Miss, she was the 2019 Softball American Pitching Coach of the Year. She's done a lot in a short period of time. It's someone that I personally have followed her career because she's a Gamecock. Even though she might have been at other schools, we keep up with our people, and we're delighted that she's back with us today.
Turns out he hit an absolute home run, a grand slam, if you will. A walk-off grand. That's what given that he is since left his post, I would say it was a walk-off grand slam, and I'm not sure we saw this coming.
Well, we have the clips, and for me, it was a lot of Oklahoma's coming, Texas coming, which did prove to be true. Texas did win the World Series.
That's true, yeah.
So they were very good, but it was like, this is awesome. We love to have alum back in the fold. Hopefully she's going to give her some time, build a groundswell. She's going to be able to get some players in. We got some new blood into the softball program. This will be fun. Did not think there was going to be the National Coach of the Year. Did not think it was going to be the most wins by any coach, by any first-year head coach in softball. Did not think the program was going to get the first ever national seed. Did not think all of these things were going to happen, but they have, and they did. And so, yes, you have to say that was a very successful hire to this point. Absolutely.
Here is Ashley Chastain Woodard giving us the first glimpse of what she was going to do and how she was going to go about resurrecting this program.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to try to get through this without a lot of emotion. In this moment, I'm filled with so much joy and just immense gratitude for this opportunity. It is truly a dream come true for me to be here today as your new softball coach and to be home at Carolina. I've spent many years here before, and there is no place like home. I am just accumulation of many people that I've been around in my life, and I have so many people to thank, so bear with me as I get through that list today. First, I would really just like to thank the Lord for blessing my life beyond measure. I could have never imagined standing here today before you as your softball coach, and what a blessing that is for me and my family. I'd like to thank my fiance, Robert. He got a great intro from Coach Tanner here. We have the debate in the House of Carolina, so that's going to be fun to continue on.
See, she was even able to do that opener, that intro, without saying my family.
She did nail that.
She nailed it perfectly, and you heard the emotion in her voice. I think that was maybe the first time we went, hey, maybe we got one of our own that's going to lead us back to the promised land. South Carolina, by the way, not in the College World Series since 1997. I think we all now feel that may change in the very near future. But certainly the way then, as we've talked about it, that she went about rebuilding that program. I think it was 9 transfers. Was it 6 from Charlotte, I believe is the correct number, and transformed them into a national program this year.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you heard that press conference again, it was like, oh, she's emotional. She's back home. This is going to be a feel-good story. We'll see how it goes. And we saw how it went. And you really never know how these hires are how they're gonna turn out. And so that's why you have to say that, you did, the people in charge do their due diligence. But a year later, you can see how this thing went. And I remind everybody, 60 feet away from Oklahoma City. Yeah. 1 out away from this. I mean, the city was already a runaway success, but from getting to the show and from there, Ashley, her fiance, and maybe the folks that she brought from Charlotte, they were the only ones who believed that. If you're out there and you say, yeah, I saw that coming, no way.
And
right?
she took, and think about, even in her personal life, which I know personal and professional should be separate, but a lot. You move here, I think they might be living, kind of in each state. But
no, I think what they did, if I read correctly, is they're because he is the baseball coach at Charlotte,
right?
And they've moved to basically a 50-50 place. I believe. I don't want to.
That's my understanding. But initially, maybe separate, then try to move together, or whatever the case may be. But got married, like a lot of big personal changes, taking on this new role, and then just kicking tail with the season. So yeah, very cool.
So that was one thing that happened on June 11th. 2024, a year later. And then, obviously, Paul Maneri was also hired. And if you would have asked me at the time, last year, this time, what was the big hire, I would have said, we got the big fish. But the big fish would not have been the softball coach. It would have been the world championship winning baseball coach. And we obviously saw what happened throughout baseball season. It did not turn out that way.
No, and it actually seemed to escalate into the month of May, whereas in the month of May it felt like softball was riding the wave and going up and up and up, and it felt like South Carolina baseball was on the bottom side of the wave, and it was about to finally crash, which it did with a 22-3 loss to Florida, and then a second crash on top of you. When you're in the ocean and you get knocked down and now the waves start crashing and harder to get up, it really crashed again. I'm trying to think. I think it was May the 8th, I believe, when South Carolina took it on the chin, 24-2, and then we did the show from Midlands Technical College on that Friday, May the 9th.
Yeah, that could have been the second crash. Also, if you wanted to nominate the back-to-back Grand Slam home runs, that could have been another crash.
That was when you fell off the wave.
Okay. That's when you first got in. That's when you realized, oh, I'm in the ocean.
Yeah.
I'm not in a pool. I'm in the ocean, and I might be struggling. Help! Help! You know, the riptide is calling. Don't get in there. Yeah. So yes, baseball season did not go the way anybody predicted it, and as you said, it left the fans, myself, everybody included, with a pretty poor taste in the mouth. You throw on top of that the reporting from John Whittle. That season, you could not have two different conversations about
and
where
both were really, we forget, again, we kind of make it sound like she completely revamped the program, and to an extent she did, as Chad points out, and he's correct. He says, if I'm not mistaken, she had the most transfers in NCAA softball. Talk about a rebuild. Maybe Paul should learn from her, maybe consider hiring her for both. But I say that because both programs were in regionals last year. Both lost in their respective regionals. The softball team was in Durham. The baseball team was in Raleigh, so they weren't even that far apart when you talk about your starting points for where both Paul Maneri and Ashley Chastain Woodard took over.
Yeah, and when you look at what they did in the SEC, very, very different stages. Traditionally, the softball team had not been successful in the SEC. They had their second winning season in 22 years, and Paul Maneri had the worst record in SEC in Gamecock history in the SEC. So that happened.
803-404-6100. We come back. I'll get you your answer on the yes-sirs, and we will talk a little NBA Finals tonight.
Oh, there's an answer to that?
We got a good answer. Very solid answer. We'll get you that answer, and we'll roll along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
For their buy-in, and then
It's Jennifer Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. I'll tell you what, the experience with them was fantastic. We learned about how they work, from customer idea to fabrication to installation. It all was meticulous every step of the process. And I will say, we couldn't be more thrilled. They were very helpful when we were trying to figure out what countertops we needed to go into our bathrooms. They helped us through that process while we were there. Had an opportunity to continue to look at their outdoor showroom as they continue to build that. So many hardscape ideas that they can offer to you as well to make your outdoor living spaces fantastic too. If you are in the market for countertops for your kitchen, for your bath, I do encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman and tell them Jen Jensen sent you. Just beyond Columbia and Chapin, and I assure you they are beyond your expectations. Go online, carolinastonecraftsman.com. Woodbury Road near Highway 1. There's an accident there. Could be impacting your traffic this morning or your how quickly you're moving along in that area. Today, we could see an isolated storm later this afternoon. 89 is going to be our high. Should be clearing out by this evening, though, so that's good news. 71 for the overnight. And then some afternoon or evening thunderstorms tomorrow. 88 for the high, maybe a few thunderstorms tomorrow night as well. But right now, it is a little bit overcast and 70 on 107.5 The Game.
Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, as we get you up and going here on your Wednesday morning. Plenty going on again. Tony Annan will be in with us coming up here in about 40 minutes at 7:15. A lot to discuss as it pertains to both USA Soccer, updates on Tottenham and their new search for a head coach.
Sacked. And got sacked.
So, yes, and we'll see what Tony Annan thinks about that and a few Premier League thoughts. Also, we'll get an update on his team. But tonight, NBA Finals, series tied 1-1. Preston, I contend this is it. This is a must-win game for Indiana. To stay in this series, you go down 2-1, I don't see how exactly they rally. And as you said, the yes-sirs, as they are called, and Richard just letting us know, you were right, Preston. The Pacers fans' rally cry is referred to as yes, sirs, combination of the phrase yes, sir, and the team name Pacers.
Okay, yeah, see, that's the thing. It's just some things don't translate by the internet. That's why you need to live in a 3D life, because if I was in the arena, I would understand that they were saying yes, sirs. But on the internet, it just says YECERS. I'm like, yes, sirs? What is that? My syllables was messed up. I didn't understand what I was supposed to be saying there. So, okay. Yes, sir. All right, I like it. I'm with it.
So that is where we are at. Now, Preston and I played, I believe you said it was last Friday when we played this. This is Amin Al-Hassan talking on ES. Is he on ESPN? Is he still on
Yes.
still on ESPN? Okay. I know he was part of the Meadowlark group there with Dan Lebitard. But this is him, and he's as good as anybody. He's been a front office guy in the NBA. He does a really good job of breaking down teams. And this is him giving the breakdown of the Thunder versus the Pacers. This is prior to Game 1, and we'll listen to this again and discuss how well he broke this down.
So, like, that's the funny thing about the Pacers to me is they're kind of like Oklahoma City Light in the way they play, right? They beat the Knicks, creating a whole lot of pressure defensively, turning them over, turning those live ball turnovers into easy layups. You start looking at it even roster-wise. Say, hey, we've got a center in Miles Turner who is a great rim protector and also can shoot threes. And Oklahoma City says, yeah, our guy does that too, Jet Holmgren, but he can bring the ball up the court and make plays. Oh, okay. Well, how about we've got a scrappy defensive perimeter player who guards guys even bigger than him in Andrew Nembhard. It's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Ours is all defensive team in Lou Dort. So, okay, well, how about this? We've got a guard who comes off the bench. He's white, but he's really scrappy and pesky and has a knack for hitting big shots in TJ McConnell. And the Thunder say, yeah, ours is Alex Caruso. He already has a championship ring. And then you say, okay, well, what about, I got you. Our point guard is like a cerebral genius. He's controlling the game. He's hitting big shots. He's been a Superman all throughout these playoffs for us. And Oklahoma City's like, yeah, ours was MVP of the league. And so you keep going through the roster and you realize, oh, man, there are a lot of similarities. It's just that Oklahoma City seems to have the nicer version of it. The only place where it gets flipped is coaching.
It's funny. It's a great job. It's a great job of him being like, oh yeah, you got something nice? We got something slightly better. Oh, you think you're good? We're great. Oh, you think your guy's going to upstage our guy? No, our guy is actually the MVP of the league.
Yeah, I made the correlation is Lexus versus Toyota. Good cars. Toyota's a great car. It's going to run forever. but you know when you get in a Lexus. And it's like some people would say, well, Toyota makes Lexus. It's like, but they don't make them like this. Right. It's a little bit different. Or yesterday when I compared myself.
It's the frame versus the fixings.
Yeah, it's the accoutrements, the wood paneling, all the nice stuff on there. It's just you feel it.
A little more technology, a little upgraded.
The flat screen is a little bit different. Yeah, I made my comparison yesterday, myself and Cecil Caldwell. Dr. Pepper versus Dr. Thunder, right?
Yeah, by the way, I got a text in yesterday for people that want to listen again. Someone asked, you have to explain the Dr. Thunder reference because not many people are going to understand that. We didn't circle back to that.
Bad. Yeah, so let's rewind it. Yesterday on the show, we were talking about defensive linemen and making player comparisons, and it triggered in me because once upon a time, I was compared to Gamecock great Cecil Caldwell, and the comparison said, he's like a poor man's version of Cecil Caldwell. And I was as an 18-year-old with my ego and my feelings, I was like, what's up with that? That's not right. And then I got to campus and I was like, yeah, it's kind of right. That feels about right. He's kind of like the OKC and the Pacers. You want to get a short, stocky D lineman? We can get this one, or you can get that one.
Yeah.
You figure out. It's the same thing, same basket. All that to say that the Pacers are going to kind of end up – it's the Spider-Man meme, except the Spider-Man's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and a little bit faster. And they're going to get beat basically playing the same game that they play.
And to that point, tonight, I look at the energy in the crowd. I look at them going home. It's going to be a lot of fun. Should be really good TV, at least for the first period, if you will. If the Pacers are still in it after the first period and giving their fans hope, the second quarter will be really, really good.
You got Indiana folks, man. They are serious about their basketball.
It's true. Precisely. And that's what I'm saying. You go home, and you can't go home in this situation because I think you say they're serious, and I kind of talk about this with South Carolina baseball fans. South Carolina baseball fans are very knowledgeable. They've seen good baseball.
Yep.
They know what good South Carolina baseball fans know what good baseball is. You can't trick them, and I think at times – going back to Mark Kingston maybe tried to trick them, and South Carolina baseball fans turned on him. To your point, Indiana is a basketball state.
I mean, they were lining up to pack out or to work hard to pack out the Bainbridge Fieldhouse to watch the game the other night.
So, to my point, they know what good basketball is.
For a viewing party.
You can't trick
them.
For
a viewing party.
Viewing party, yeah. Wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, you can't trick Indiana Pacer fans into being like, oh, yeah, we're all even. I mean, we can do everything because they've watched now really for the better part of 96 minutes, the Pacers kind of dominate this series.
Like I said, if this was banana ball scoring, it'd be 7-1. If we're just scoring by quarters, 7-1 Pacers. I mean, 7-1 OKC, right? They've won every quarter, almost every minute of the game, except for the 0.3 seconds that they lost.
So with that being said, I think tonight if the Pacers come in and they get kind of blown off their home floor again, maybe it's a little bit different if it comes down to a final shot and SGA hits it or Chet Holmgren gets a putback at the very end. Maybe they retain hope, but because it would only be 2-1. But I think the Pacers have to win this game tonight to keep their fans energized because I just said with their fans being smart, you go in there and the Thunder win again by, say, 16 like they did in the last game, 123-107. Pacer fans are going to be like, this is really cool. Look around. Oh, the logo on the floor. That's really, take a picture with that. Yep, this is all, the environment's great. We're going to do this again. But we're going to do this again because we have to go get a free agent or two to upgrade our roster to match their roster.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure it out. And the way the NBA rosters are being built today is built around depth. It's built around having a multitude of pieces. And OKC is set up with SGA leading the charge, which, by the way, he's averaging 30 points per game this playoff series. So he's definitely leading the way. And all that means is, Bill, if they win tomorrow, we all get to hear our favorite commercial one more time.
If the Thunder win?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. I can't wait.
If that gives y'all any other reason to cheer for the Pacers tonight, if the Pacers win, we won't play the commercial. But if the Thunder win, we'll play the commercial.
I think I'm actually pulling for the Pacers now. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. So how quickly do these coaching searches and hires actually come together? Apparently, right after NCAA regional or super regionals. Doesn't take more than about 12 hours. We'll explain to you when we come back. It's the early game.
Press here for Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family-owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third-generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom-and-pop values that you love. At Cato's, we're proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the friendly team is here to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato has you covered. We got a huge selection of new and pre-owned mowers, powerful tractors, and all the gear you need. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
1, 2 outs, the 2-2. Ground ball to first. Ball game. Murray State has done it. Upset in Durham. The Racers race on to Omaha.
Well, it's the old adage that Preston likes to use. A butterfly flaps its wings in Starkville, Mississippi, and it comes home to roost in Durham, North Carolina, as yesterday Virginia, losing their coach, Brian O'Connor, who had been there for, I believe, 22 or 23 years, took over in Starkville. So now they had an opening. And I think they did what you're supposed to have. They probably played it straight by the book. As soon as the final out was made, and that clip we just played was Murray State knocking off Duke Monday night. That game started at 7 o'clock, mind you. Wrapped at probably about 9:30. I would estimate that Virginia, being the upstanding university they are with upstanding people, waited until roughly 10:15 to send out a notice to Chris Pollard. Hey, you interested in being our new head baseball coach? To which Chris Pollard said, give me 30 minutes. Yes, I will be your head baseball coach.
At 9:49 p.m., the game at Murray State ended. 9:49. I'm putting together a timeline. On June 1st, Virginia's head baseball coach left to go to Mississippi State. That was the butterfly flapping its wings. On June 9th at 9:49, the improbable Murray State Racers beat the Duke hard blue collar Devils at 9:49 p.m. 12:06 on June 10th, posted Virginia Athletics, we got our guy. So I'm not
12:06 p.m.
Yes.
Okay, because 12:06 a.m.
would have been suspicious. But let's wait a little while. So approximately 14 hours after the game, the coach is gone. And our position to you, all of us talking about transfer portal, tampering, what happened here? Because this guy was apparently had 1 foot on the boat and 1 foot ready to jump. And I'm not going to be convinced that he was able to coach these guys while putting together a life-changing deal that was going to be happening. So, yes, while his players might have been crying about getting upset by Murray State, old Coach Pollard
was home packing quickly.
Telling the U-Haul, hey, let's get the stuff going. Let's wrap it up. They probably went into his office and there was nothing in there.
Some pins left over, a few paper clips on the floor that fell.
Man. Come on, man. Let's not kid ourselves about how this works.
Yeah, to go back to that, and for you people that say, well, this is what coaches do, the loss closed an historic season for Duke, a 41-win season. He had been, it says it marked the end of a historic 13-year run in Durham. Pollard's departure as Pollard departs as Duke's all-time wins leader and the architect of the most successful era in program history. He arrived there in 2013. Says Duke hadn't reached the NCAA tournament in over 50 years, and under Pollard's guidance, the Blue Devils became a perennial contender, earning 7 regional berths, 4 super regionals, and in national respect in a league filled with college baseball blue bloods. So why I read all that is because he had gone in and made it his program. He had built it. Do you think that in how many hours did you say? 12?
Approximately 14 hours.
14 hours?
Well, and this was 14 hours. It was posted. We don't know when the deal was signed.
Well, that's my point. Is do you think in 14 hours, fresh off a heartbreaking loss, 1 game away from the College World Series, something that they were aiming to do since they had not done it since, I believe, 1948 was the number I saw, that in basically 14 hours he was able to just drop Duke like a bad habit and move on to his new significant other in Virginia?
Well, that's why we're building this case here. That's why we look at things started to heat up on June 1st when the job came open. And when the job came open, his agent said, hey, or either there's one or two things happened. Either his agent called him or he called his agent. One of these two things. Hey, what do you think? And that it doesn't matter who made the conversation. Those were the words. Either he said that to his agent, what do you think? Or his agent told him, what do you think? And they went to work, and for 8 days, while his players were out there giving it the old blue-collar Duke try, Chris Pollard's like...
his door becomes closed, or you see him wandering around like left field where nobody's at, The coaches, the players are all like, "Wow, is Coach constantly on the phone, way away from us out there?"
And it looks like he's been rearranging his office. There's things that not on the walls. Like what is he's repainting?
So-
He's remodeling.
Now we have to go do some research and see what he said after this press conference. Because remember, Tom Thibodeau was talking about coming back next year.
He's got a very heartfelt. I saw actually some of it yesterday. Very heartfelt, kind of congratulating Murray State.
Sure.
And there was a lot of people that on Monday night and Tuesday morning, as that was being replayed, were like, "This is a stand-up guy. This is who you want leading your program."
And I'm not saying he doesn't care for his players. I'm just saying he looked around and he was like, "Hey, good luck next year. I'll be gone. It's been real. It's been fun, but I'm out of here."
It's an interest.
Don't cry too much.
So quickly.
14 hours.
803-404-6100. Hour 2 on the way. Tony Annan set to join us at 7:15 this morning. You're listening to the early game.
President for the good folks at Integrated Media. Listen, we've been trying to tell you all along that you need to get yourself ready, and now we are getting closer to the season. Yes, it's a down sports town now, but why not get yourself ready? Get your outdoor setup ready. You can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors, or my personal favorite, you can control all your devices from just one remote. So you can have everything set up, sitting outside, getting ready to enjoy the season that is ahead of us. From home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat, maybe it's monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. Call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
And traffic-wise, this morning, hope things are moving along fairly well for you. We don't really have any accidents to speak of, and certainly not complaining, so let's just move right on past that. 89 for the high today, maybe a couple isolated storms this afternoon. Tomorrow could see some afternoon and evening storms. Those are a possibility. Looking for 88 for the high. And then on Friday, again, chances for some scattered thunderstorms. 88 will also be our high there. So essentially, we're looking at this pretty much every afternoon or evening, we will have a chance for it. Those pop-up thunderstorms, it just varies in the potential for severity, so we'll always be mindful of that. But right now, it is overcast. Sun, it's trying. It's 70 on the early game.
Seven a.m. as we get you up and get you going. Head men's soccer coach Tony Annan set to join us here in the next 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll do a little soccer discussion as last night United States trampled by Switzerland 4-0, and it's just another issue now arising from the United States men's national soccer team that is starting to show some ugly cracks. You got Landon Donovan criticizing guys for sitting out. You got guys sitting out that are criticizing Landon Donovan, and we'll catch up with Tony Annan. Yeah, it's a neat little back and forth taking place.
Oh yeah, I was also laughing because my timeline just showed me Landon Donovan said that he was currently on his second bottle of wine. So yes,
yeah. So we'll get into all of that with Tony Annan, get a little Premier League update. But this morning we have been talking about a couple different topics, whether it is NBA playoffs tonight, Preston Thorne, Game 3, Pacers and Thunder. And for me, I'm calling it must win for the Pacers. Simply can't go down 2-1 against a team that, quite frankly, has dominated you for, again, roughly 95 minutes, 59 seconds, and 0.7 of a second.
Now remember, the Pacers are my adopted squad for this NBA run, the Yesers, as we've just learned, and they should be your adopted squad also, because if the Pacers lose tonight, you will listen to the AT&T commercial.
Yeah,
with our guys. So you all should be cheering for the Pacers so that it does not have to be played tomorrow.
That or you just won't tune in tomorrow morning, whichever choice you have. So let's all pull for the Pacers tonight so that we have an audience listening tomorrow.
Yes, sirs.
But we've been talking about that again. Basically a must-win game, in my opinion, to keep the series alive. I'll go as far as to say I told Preston after Game 1 I thought this would get to 6 games now, because I really do think the Pacers somewhere along the line still won in Indiana. The way this has been kind of dominant, I'm not sure that I can believe in that. I think if they can get one, it's tonight. And because as Jen pointed out, that Pacers fandom, that crowd, they will be into it tonight. That place will be absolutely rocking. They will have all the energy behind them, and they've got to transfer that to a W.
Well, going back to Amin El-Hassan's comparison, he compared all the players, he compared everything. Well, hey, Pacers, you got crazy fans who like to wear the same shirt. OKC, we got them too.
Yeah.
Right? Y'all don't have anything to do in your city. We don't either. So we're all watching basketball. So it will be a raucous environment, but OKC is very much used to having environments that are dialed in for them. So we'll see.
But it's crazy Midwesterners. We're just built differently.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So that's some of the things that the Pacers have as an advantage.
Right.
When the city slickers come to town, when the Knicks come to town, they're not used to all these people who are locked in. Well, guess what? OKC is, because they got them too.
Yep.
They got a bunch of Midwesterners who don't have anything else to do but watch ball too. So that was the big thing that they talked about yesterday. Today actually is an anniversary. Not an anniversary of sorts, but it's a true anniversary, because last year, on this day, there were 2 hirings that were made. One hiring was on the softball diamond. The other one was on the baseball diamond. One hiring had a team that would end up gaining a national seed. The other one had a team that would end up not gaining a national seed. One hiring had a coach that would take the team to new heights. One hiring had a coach that would not take the team to new heights. And so these things were happening last year. And so we have the clip. And what we are going to do is we're going to re-give Coach Chastain Woodard, Coach Ashley Chastain Woodard, we're going to re-give her flowers this year, because when she was hired as the coach last year, she was absolutely the second billing. She was absolutely the second coach hired. The sort of throw-in package, the buy one, get one free when this was happening, because we thought it was a cute story and she hadn't won the World Series. But we're going to re-gift her flowers. And here is Ray Tanner introducing Ashley Chastain Woodard.
So there is the audio of Ray Tanner knocking it out the park. Walk-off grand slam. Preston, I'm trying to think if that was the last, or I guess he and Paul Maneri, the last actual hire that he made before his tenure came to a conclusion.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just trying to think. I've not had
it was the best one
being
to this point.
So yeah, being told it is. We will celebrate that. That was the last one. And you're right. It was kind of like, oh, this is a cute story. She's an alumni. She's back. Let's see how she does. Hopefully she does well. Boy, you're coming into a bear of a league. Oh man, this is going to be difficult. But glad you're back, and we'll give you plenty of time. Well, she didn't need plenty of time. She excelled right off the bat. And on the other hand, Paul Maneri was the person everybody was like, oh, we see your national championship. We see what you did at LSU. We see what you did at Notre Dame. We see what you did at Air Force. Very impressive, Coach Maneri. Glad to have you here. You seem to fit the Ray Tanner mold that has done so many good things for us. And unfortunately, the wheels came off very early on. Well, actually, they came off about SEC play.
Yeah, we talked about the convergence of what was happening in May. While one program was ascending, another program was descending quickly, and it felt like things were going wrong. But yeah, the season was not what anybody had hoped for, not what anybody wanted, and that's where that program is. And so when you look at what's happening in the postseason, both teams are very active right now in the portal. Both teams are very active in the portal, signing pieces that they need. And again, I'll remind everybody that softball was 1 out away from going to the World Series. And so that was a tremendous accomplishment for them. They have to build on that success. And obviously, Paul Maneri and staff, there's really nowhere to, there is nowhere to go but up from where they finished last season.
803-404-6100. So we've covered basketball. We've covered a little bit of the anniversary date for Paul Maneri and Ashley Chastain Woodard. We've also covered a little bit of Chris Pollard up and leaving for Duke. In earnest ways, and he does make a point. He says, wait, didn't we try to do this with Kevin O'Sullivan back in 2017, only he made a run to the national championship?
Yeah, of course. This is how the game goes. But here's the thing. We know Kevin O'Sullivan. Nobody would put that past him at all. Chris Pollard, listen, things come together quick. When the train comes, you better get on it. right? You don't say, I'll wait for the next one. No, the train's here, you get on the train, who's going to, and that's what you got to do.
803-404-6100. Head men's soccer coach Tony Annan is here to, hopefully not the interview for the United States national men's soccer job because, I think he's got a much, much, much better program right now here at the University of South Carolina. We're going to get thoughts on last night against Switzerland. We need Preston and Jen need a good Tottenham update. Yep, got to get Trent a good Tottenham update as well. So we will do all of that here as we roll along. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorpe. What are you showing me down there, Coach? Turn your mic. Get him mic 3 here so we can set him up for just a second. What do you got?
Thiago Silva.
I think it's that one. It's the third one. Now say it. Now it looks like the light's on. Thiago Silva?
Just flexing over there on us.
I know. Just we will get to it. We will get to it. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game. We are so close to Father's Day, and now you might be starting to fret a little bit about a great Father's Day gift. Well, let me tell you the one place you should go, Old Timey Meat Market. Why, you ask? Well, not just for the great steaks, the great chicken, the incredible pork chops, and the phenomenal salmon, but also because the Lexington Old Timey Meat Market store is your Traeger grill home. That's right. They are the official home of the Traeger grills here in the Midlands, and if you think Dad doesn't want a great Traeger grill, boy, are you wrong. Just kind of drop a hint later today and find out just how bad Father would love a great smoker from Traeger Grills or a great Traeger grill. And you can visit the headquarters of Traeger Grills here in the Midlands, the Lexington store at Old Timey Meat Market. And while you're there, you can pick up some food to smoke or cook this weekend, whether it's a huge chicken, whether it's a great piece of steak, maybe you want to do some hamburgers. Old Timey Meat Market has you taken care of. So stop by the Lexington store, your Traeger headquarters, or visit the St. Andrews Road store in Irma or the South Congaree store, wherever you go. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Something through football, and it was. What they think? They were like this.
We do have fire Laurel Street and Main Street, so avoid that area, downtown Columbia, if you can. Laurel at Main Street. And aside from that, there aren't any other traffic updates to make you aware of. Isolated storms later this afternoon are possible, 89 for the high. Afternoon and evening thunderstorms tomorrow, 88. Friday, 88 with some scattered storms both in the afternoon and the evening. But the sun, it's doing its best, trying to burn through the clouds. It's 70 right now in the early game.
$7:16 here on a Wednesday morning, joined by our good buddy Tony Annan, who is just over here trying to show us pictures of hanging around with guys who are not quite as much of a celebrity as you are.
They are way.
You're on.
I'm on?
Yeah, you're good.
They're way bigger than me.
Way bigger than you.
Way bigger than me. I'm nobody. You know that.
It's not true, sir. We don't have just nobodies on this program. We only reserve that seat down there and that microphone that we finally got working for the biggest of celebrities. But tell us what you've been up to lately, because you were kind of telling us off air, and you can both pronunciate it better than I can and explain it better than I can.
We have been hosting Fluminense, the Brazilian champions.
Okay.
They're here for the Club World Cup. So they are using our facilities and using our stadium for training. Thiago Silva, Cano, unbelievable players, legends.
Yep.
So it's been really good. They've given us full access. They've let us be at training. They've let us be around. It's been amazing. It's been great.
I'm trying to think. Last year, last August, was it one particular team, or did you have access to both Liverpool and Man United?
Liverpool, Man United came in late.
Okay.
One night and didn't really do anything. Liverpool trained for 2 days, I think, with us.
And your players were able to kind of experience that, to see how professionals train, how people are at the top of their game train?
A little bit. Liverpool weren't as humble and accommodating and nice as Fluminense have been. The Brazilians have been really laid back, really open, and they allowed people to come watch. Well, our staff and players, not anybody else.
Not anybody else.
Yeah. In other words, don't just show up over at Stone
please,
Stadium.
I was picturing 5,000 people showing up there.
Just finding their way in. Yeah,
you need a pass.
What is it? How does that improve your program to have your guys right now be able to go and just see how professionals train?
Yeah, we don't have many guys on campus because they're all sort of on break. They don't come back until early July.
Okay.
But the ones that are here have been able to see Thiago Silva training, which is like, you know, he's a legend of the game. He's top 5 centre-backs of all time, in my opinion, of course. But, you know, just for me, just to watch them train, how they train, what they do, how they go about their business, it's just education, because you're constantly learning from somebody, right? So just to see them and be around it and, you know, try not to be too much of a fanboy. Right.
How do you go about it? I know, Preston, and I think high school, you might have done this as well, where you visit another college and you pick the brain of another person. I think Nick Saban was well known. I can't remember who he brought in to modernize his offense there in the early 2010s. But how do you go about picking the brain of a professional coach, or maybe observing a practice and saying, boy, I really like what you're doing here? How do you handle that?
I think just like as anybody would. I've got plenty of contacts that I can reach out to, number one, for conversations, but to be able to go to places, to go to clubs and have access to clubs is not easy, right? You've got to sort of kind of jump through hoops, know somebody who can get you there, and then be accommodating to you being there. But I think when they come to you like this, it's easy just to stand there and take it all in, right? And say, oh, I like that exercise. That's a cool exercise. That would be relevant to what we do, and that wouldn't. That doesn't work for us, you know. So there's tons of stuff that they're doing that I wouldn't probably do, these are professionals at the top of the game. They're not trying to develop the players; they're trying to win games. But there was a couple of exercises the last couple of days I thought were pretty cool that I hadn't seen, so it was nice.
So I got to ask, you've got this group. They're pretty much all international. They're a Brazilian club team, but I'm assuming much like the European teams, you've got players from around the world on your team. So you mentioned to us they only train once a day. How long are these training sessions?
It's about a 2-hour block. They arrive, they do like an activation, what they call microdose in the gym, and then they go straight out onto the field, and they're on the field yesterday on the field for about an hour and a half. So it was a pretty long session. The first couple of days were just hour sessions, and it's been like, what's going on with the weather here? Why so much rain? I was like, this is not usual. It's usually a shower in the afternoon, but not like it was yesterday. So,
well, that was going to bring me to my point. So they get plenty of free time. From your experience, what are they doing with their free time around here?
I'm not sure. They bought a ping pong table, I know, from Dick's and put that together. So they've got a ping pong table in the hotel they're staying at. I am supposed to take one of them golfing on Saturday. There's only one out of 30 players that wants to go golf. So I get to go golf with him. He doesn't speak a word of English, so that should be interesting.
Oh, geez. Sign language. Cue card.
Yeah. I think, I'm not sure what they're doing. I mean, filling their time, but they were talking about playing beach volleyball one day because they're big into beach, soccer, volleyball. And our new coach is Brazilian too. He's a legend actually in Brazil. Jose, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but he came over yesterday to meet them, and they were like, "Oh, it's Jose! Like he's an Olympian." They were really excited to see him. The president of the club was like, "I have to meet this guy. Like, can you get him here? Can you get him here?" So he came yesterday. Thad Westbrook came, the chairman of the board of trustees came down. He came with his kids, and we swapped shirts and did pictures and stuff. So Jeremiah was out of town, and the president really wanted to meet Jeremiah, but he was at the Orlando for a conference. So I think Jeremiah will meet them in the next few days as well. So they're really, really good people. I
didn't know if you've gotten them over to Lake Murray to experience that. I didn't know what else.
You need a big boat.
Big boat.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
May need a yacht, not a boat.
Send them out on that. Let's see how they handle Lake Murray. Well, let's get into what occurred last night. What is your take? I've not followed it maybe as closely as I should, but last night USA men's soccer gets stomped 4-0. You got Landon Donovan's calling out Christian Pulisic and others for sitting out. I mean, it looks from the outsides looking in, it looks like things have gone completely right. It looks like I said it to open the program, almost rock bottom.
Yeah, listen, Pochettino for me is one of the best. I love Pochettino. I think he's a very good coach, and I've watched him a lot over the years. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's a shambles. I mean, it's not great.
Especially given that next year we're hosting the World Cup and that we're going to be a part of it.
Yeah, the whole Pulisic thing, I think Landon's out of order. I don't think he's got any. He hasn't got a soapbox to stand on. He took a big sabbatical when he was playing because of mental stress and mental fatigue. So I don't think him calling Pulisic out was the right thing to do. I'm not a huge Landon Donovan fan as far as after his career, post-career, the way he's kind of handled certain situations. So I'm going to side with Pulisic. But Dempsey also said, and I think Dempsey, I'm not sure if I wasn't sure if he was sticking up for Pulisic or not, but I think he was having to go at Donovan about, hey, you took a sabbatical when you were playing as well, right? So I get it. The old school players would say, mental health break, you're tired, or cry me a river, let's get on with it, But it's different. The game's different now, and so are players, and so is the game. And I can see you coming off a AC Milan, Serie A, where you've been one of the top players in Italy for the last 9 to 11, 10 months. Yeah, you could be fatigued. You could be worn out. You might just need a break. And is the Gold Cup that important to the World Cup? I'm not sure. So I kind of sit the fence a little bit because as a coach, you think, come on, dig in and get through it. But as a human, you might go, you know what, the kid might need a break. He's been Mr. America for the past probably 3 or 4 years. All the pressure's on him to perform. He's just had an unbelievable season with Milan. So, maybe he does need a break. And I don't think he should be
Villainized.
criticized and villainized for that, if that's his choice.
So what is it? Just a matter of we're missing some players? They're not connecting with the coach, in your opinion? Because it feels like that's one guy that we just discussed, but this is a team game, and it feels like it's the whole team right now that is not on the same page, whether it's with their teammates or with the coach.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a talent pool thing. I don't know. I saw a stat yesterday that said there's 270,000 registered players in Switzerland. There's 3 million here. You know, why can we not compete with Switzerland? You know, is there something wrong further down the chain? And the answer is probably yes, but how does that get fixed? I think every nation faces at some point in their development timeline a decision where they've got to scrap it and start again. And I think maybe, not scrap it, but I think maybe there needs to be a rethink on how are we developing the players in this country. And I think that's a serious question. And can it be changed or not?
Does that trickle all the way down to the grassroots level?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. That's where it starts, grassroots.
So do we have an American philosophy on soccer that seems to permeate? Obviously,
no, there's no connection from the top to the bottom here. It's very fractured, it's very splintered, it's very individualized. And yes, the United States is huge. I would say it's almost impossible to get everybody on the same page. But there's also a lot of different organizations making a lot of money who don't want to stop making a lot of money. That would, central philosophy would interfere with that as well. So there's all sorts of nuances to this. It was easy for France to go, okay, we're going to do these regional development centres, we're going to bring everybody in, we're going to train them, and they're going to go back to their clubs, and the clubs are going to have the philosophy that we want. Blah, 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 blah. It was easier for them because France is smaller, but it worked for France. It worked for Germany. Smaller nations. I mean, the US is so big, you've almost got to split it into 4 countries and treat it that way. But that's a glass of wine conversation for another time.
Well, Landon Donovan said he was on his second glass of wine last night, so
well, he should be.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll get the Tottenham update. Get Trent on the phone, Jen. We'll let Jen's son listen in. We'll get Preston an update here. A guy that I know you mentioned you really liked as a coach, Ange.
Ange.
And I'm not even going to try and say his last name.
Postecoglou.
Exactly. There you go. That's why you're here this morning, to warm us up for that. But we'll get an update on that in Premier League. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, joined in studio by head men's soccer coach Tony Ann, and you're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Corley Pool Solutions, where they believe in providing the absolute highest quality swimming pool service at the most affordable price to you and your family. That's right, flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals. Just give Corley Pool Solutions a call today, 803-445-8109. Again, that's 803-445-8109. At Corley Pool Solutions, they don't just believe in maintaining your pool. They believe in maintaining your lifestyle. That's right. Sometimes it doesn't just mean jumping in the pool when you come home from work. It means hosting cookouts in the backyard for, say, Father's Day or 4th of July, and that pool being part of the experience, the ambiance. So at Corley Pool Solutions, it's not just about maintaining your pool. It's about maintaining your lifestyle. So give them a phone call today and line up your maintenance contract. 803-445-8109. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Still traffic snarl there in downtown Columbia as they address a fire. Laurel Street at Main Street. So again, Laurel at Main, there is a fire there, so be careful and just try to avoid that area if you can for right now. A lot of emergency vehicles on the scene, of course. Isolated storms this afternoon, 89 for the high. Afternoon and evening thunderstorms possible for your Thursday. And 88 would be the high, 88 on Friday with much of the same. 70 currently on 107.5 The Game.
.34 on a Wednesday morning. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, and joined in studio by Tony Annan, our fourth co-host, really. Just has other jobs he has to do and can't make it to the studio all the time. But we got him in here today is talking a little U.S. national men's soccer team who got thumped last night 4-0 by Switzerland. But we love to have him in for Premier League soccer discussions, such as Preston's adopted team. Your adopted teams are starting to struggle a little bit, by the way, now that I think about it. They get there, they just don't quite get over the hump.
Well, much like the NCAA and the Preston adopted team bylines, if the manager gets sacked, then I have the ability to explore free agency.
Is that true?
So,
is that I'm good with that rule.
You could do that a lot with Tottenham.
This is what I'm.
About every 2 years,
This
right?
is what I'm understanding. Since my time, I believe this is the second. This is the second time that this has happened. So, I am here. Oh, my first question is: we were on such a high with the Europa Cup, correct?
Yeah, the Europa is the second best trophy in Europe.
So that was a good thing that was happening.
It was a great achievement.
Okay. So
17 years since you'd won anything, is that right?
This is what all this stuff that I'm hearing. So how do we get from there to here?
Oof, challenging question.
Okay. And I know this can be very Spursy of us.
The root of all problems at Spurs is a man called Daniel Levy, who is a businessman with a ruthless reputation.
Okay.
And nobody seems to be able to get along with the guy. No manager, at least. Which I think is one problem. You've got talent, you've got money, you probably make more money than most Premier League clubs because of your stadium income and revenue as well. But and here's where it gets dicey, right? The Premier League is the crown league in the world, in many people's opinions. To finish 17th, 18th, was it? Almost in the relegation zone.
17th, I believe, yeah.
Relegation zone is not good enough for a club the size of Spurs, right? So his league form was woeful. Like, it was poor. So if it was just about the league, I could see why they would say, you know what, this isn't working, let's go. But to win the Europa and give the club some history again and bring it back to almost the top of Europe, right? It's the second cup in Europe. Huge for most clubs. That would be a huge trophy. It was a strange one. Do you give them another season to try and figure it out in the league? I would have, I think. But, yeah, it's so Spursy.
Spursy. Okay.
So, real quick, explain to us, because Jen got this right the other day, I messed up. Because they won that, they go to the Champions League now. So does that mean 5 teams out of the Premier League, or do they knock out the 4th? Give us a little, for those that don't, for me, clearly, but for others.
The Premier League gets 5 spots for the Champions League.
Okay.
But they take it for the Europa, so there's still 5 teams going to Europe.
Okay.
Which is why Newcastle's in Champions League next year.
Right.
Yeah.
So all right, so that's
so in essence, there's 6.
Okay, so the 6th team goes in. And then does that mean that another team from somewhere else is pushed out?
I could be wrong on that, by the way. Fact check me, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
It said 1 through 4 or 5. So I
know that Newcastle are still in the Champions League and they finished 5th, so therefore there must be 6 going.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So a little bit of an update on that. Now that everything is wrapped up with the Premier League, your thoughts and
I'm bored. Yes.
What could you see coming for some moves?
Well, Liverpool just signed a guy for 150 million words, so that's happening. There's going to be some. Obviously, Thomas Frank just took the Tottenham job, which I think is another great hire for Spurs. He's very good. I like Thomas Frank, and he's very good. But how well will he do there? That's the question here. Where Mourinho, Pochettino, they've all now, Ange, they've all had.
For those that don't know, what makes Thomas Frank a great coach, in your opinion?
Tactically, he's very good, but he seems to have a very good way with his players. He's got a very good demeanour. I just like who he is and what he is and how his teams play. So that's how I form my opinion on a coach, I guess. But he seems to be a really good coach. Does a really good job with less. He's done a lot. So
okay, go with
There's going to be a lot of movement. Obviously, player movement, player signings in the next 2 months is going to be crazy.
You look across the league, Man City had been so dominant and kind of replaced now. What do they do to kind of get back to being up there with Liverpool, Arsenal?
I don't think they have to do too much.
Really?
I mean, it's
just a bad year?
It wasn't really that bad a year. You qualified for Champions League.
Very true.
It just wasn't the dominant year that it's been. People worked him out. You know, people sort of stifled his system. I think they'll be fine. I don't think Man City have got anything to worry about. It'll be interesting to see how Liverpool do their second season in the slot. I mean, he did an excellent job, but let's see what he does again next. I love him as well. He's a great manager. There's not many bad managers in the Premier League, but it'll be interesting to see what Villa do. You know, they just lost out on Champions League by a hair to Newcastle. I'm interested to see if Man United can turn it around. Can Man United turn their season, their sort of hole that they're in, can they get out of it? And how quick can they get out of it? That'll be interesting.
Let me ask you this, and then we'll head toward the next segment. But with relegation here, and you had both, I believe it was Ipswich and Southampton who seemed to have, a almost historically, not for them, but for the whole league, bad season. Does that show just the difference in coming up the Premier League from, I believe it's the Championship League? Like, it was, because that was bad. That was as bad as you could, and then you got to kind of suffer through it and play almost for a year. Give me your take on that. Right now, by the way, Leeds, United, Burnley, and Sunderland moving up with Leicester City, Ipswich,
Leicester City.
Hey man, I'm learning just like Preston. I'm only one step ahead of Preston on this, but anyway, Ipswich and Southampton. But how do you also see that working out?
It's about money. If you come up from the Championship and you don't spend and you don't buy players, you probably won't survive. There is a few that have, but most of the time, if you don't spend, you're going back down. And if you can't spend, like Ipswich did not spend, and they've just sold their best player on the way down as well. If you don't spend, it's really tough for you to survive in the Premier League. And a lot of these clubs that get promoted don't have the deep coffers to spend on 4 or 5 players that they need to stay in the league. So it's difficult. But they get money for going down as well. They make just as much money going down as they do going up. So it's...
So real quick, because Nottingham Forest was in the top 4 for the majority of the season and lost out, I believe, on the final weekend of getting into Champions League. They came into the Premier League, I think, 2 years ago. What have they done to go from getting into the league? Because I want to say I remember watching in August, and again, this might have been 2 years ago, their first match in the Premier League was something like being back for the first time in 26 years.
Yeah, they stumbled when they first came back up. They managed to survive, but they spent some money. They got a good manager. And they did really well. If you can get through that first year, I think you've got a chance. It's that first year that's difficult to come up and stay up. But Forest are a huge club, right? I don't know if you know the history, but they've won more European Cups than most. You know, so back in the 70s, 80s, Forest were a dominant team. So they've got a lot of history at the club, and like I said, they've got a good coach, and the chairman, the owner, is putting money into the club. So. He owns Olympiacos too in Greece.
803-404-6100. So there's your little Premier League update. Anything you take from that?
Yeah, we have tough ownership, man, and when there's tough ownership, it's tough to be good as a squad.
Like the Al Davis of
no, well,
or maybe what was it, Daniel Snyder, maybe?
I feel like more towards that direction. Al Davis, yeah.
There you go. 803-404-6100. Come back. We will get into Preston's going to have to leave at 8 o'clock, so we're gonna test a little bit of Tony Annan's movie knowledge. We're going to go back to what we discussed yesterday.
Oh, I didn't listen yesterday.
Well, good. You'll be completely prepared for this then. You're listening to the early game. Eight zero three 404-6100, how you can get in touch with us this morning for anything Coach Annan said. But let me tell you about AAA Heating and Air, your go-to name in the Midlands. And if you are looking to purchase a brand new heating and air unit, there is no place better than to call AAA Heating and Air this morning, because with guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty, it is why they are the absolute best in the business. And trust me, I know this. Just about 3 years ago, I had AAA Heating and Air come out to the house. They installed a brand new Train heating and air system at the house, and it has worked absolutely extraordinary since I've had it there. So call AAA Heating and Air if you're looking for a brand new heating and air unit. Again, with guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty, they are the go-to name. So give them a phone call today, 803-677-1500. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Final segment of the hour. Coach Annan will be here for one more segment after this. But as we roll along, our topic of discussion from yesterday, Coach Annan, was we started a summer movie series as we go through the next few weeks. And Preston wanted to start with a classic, The Sandlot, 1993. I rewatched it last night. And, all right, your thoughts. You've got younger kids. The Sandlot, your take on that movie.
Is that Billy Bob Thornton?
No, that's Bad News Bears.
That was Bad News Bears. Okay.
That's the original one.
I
Did
watched
you?
a lot of these children's movies.
And that's why we're working in a specific sort of children's area of sports movies.
Yeah, The Sandlot. I did watch that. Yeah, I watched it with my kids and my wife. My wife loves it. I don't know why, but she doesn't particularly love sports, but she likes that movie.
Okay, so not a sports lover, but loves that movie.
Yeah.
And so when you watched it, obviously, when you're watching it, it's talking about a different time in America.
Mm-hmm.
Did it match up with what your vision of what America was?
My vision before I came?
Yes.
I guess in parts it did.
Okay.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
But
I think that's really interesting.
I came in 94.
Yes.
So it wasn't long after that.
Right. Now, here's my other question. The movie The Sandlot is about a bunch of kids getting together to play randomized games and all that type of stuff. Was there a Sandlot aspect to football when you were growing up in England?
100%.
What was that like?
It was awesome.
Okay.
Like, literally, you knew where the field was.
Mm-hmm.
You knew what time everybody kind of got there. You threw down some sweaters if they'd taken the posts down for maintenance or whatever. You threw down sweaters for the 2 posts. And then it was like, okay, you're on that team, you're on that team. There's no bibs, there was no cones, there was no structure. And you just played for hours and hours and hours. And I was just like, it's dark. Or the guy who had the ball got mad and took the ball home. Or the ball went over someone's fence and they wouldn't give it to you back. Like,
There you go.
there was tons of that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That was great times. That's how you learned to play games, I think.
Did you have like kind of like your own team that wasn't a team? Kind of like in The Sandlot, you've got this team. They end up. I did watching again last night. All the other kids show up on bikes. They got the nice uniforms. One of them appears to have a leather jacket on. Like, was there a group where you would be like, all right, it's us 7 against those 7, or did you just there was 14 kids that showed up and one day you're on one kid's team?
It was usually random. I mean, we had obviously teams that we played on,
right,
and they were from other clubs or other.
Right. Well, that's
places.
different. Like you said, this is just pickup.
That was just the pickup culture. I would call it. The pickup culture was, if there was 10 guys, it was 5v5. If there was 7 guys, it was probably 4 versus 3v3 with a neutral. Like,
ooh, what's that? What does a neutral mean? Because
it's for both teams.
Okay, because in baseball we might have, if you don't have enough players, you might have a ghost runner because you don't have enough people to run the bases, or you might have a designated quarterback. Right. So what does a neutral mean in soccer?
Basically, if there was, let's say there was 5 of us, 6 of us, 7 of us, sorry, showed up for a game, we couldn't play 4v3, or we could, but if you played 4v3, here's a good one for you. The other team would have what we call rush keeper.
Go on.
So rush keeper would be, you can come out on the field and play, but you can run back and use your hands as a goalie.
Ooh.
So that was called rush. That was a rushy, right?
I can see some definite controversy where you might be using your hands a little bit further out than when you're supposed to.
There was a lot of arguments.
I can see that. I can definitely see issues with that.
But then if you couldn't decide that, you could have a 3v3, and this guy plays for both teams.
Ooh.
So then when you have the ball, you have 4. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the neutral.
I like it.
We still have that now. We use that in games now when we train. A neutral. We have 2 neutrals. We have 3 neutrals to offset, to make the unbalanced numbers. We had so many things that we could talk about.
So do you have a particular, I say youth sports movie that really stood out to you? He went through a bunch of them yesterday. The Sandlot.
I'm going to throw one at you that is an all-American movie that I loved as a kid. BMX Bandits. Was it American or was it Australian? It might have been Australian.
I think this might be Australian, but I'm on it.
So I was into BMX Bandits like no other. Because BMXing was big in England.
Yes.
Yeah, the
1983 Australian movie.
The Australian, was
Bandits.
it?
I like
so
it.
I was what? I'm not going to tell you what I was. But I was I was all into that BMX Bandits.
All right, we'll come back. Think about it. Think about it. We'll come back. Tony Ann's going to tell us all about how his summer's going, how his team is. And Preston, you're done for the day?
Yes, sir.
Preston's out, but we'll be back tomorrow. He will be.
Go watch BMX Bandits.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. That's right, they'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out and take care of it for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows or mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Fort Jackson Boulevard at I-77. There's a report of an accident there, and also a report of an object on the highway. Garner's Ferry Road at Halbrook Drive. So just a little extra caution cruising through there. 89 for the high today. Isolated storms this afternoon. Tomorrow could see those isolated storms in the afternoon and evening. 88 for the high tomorrow and Friday. Pretty much keeping a pattern of the upper 80s, right around 90 or so, really, for about the next week, while we also encounter those afternoon thunderstorms. Currently, just kind of sitting still right now. We're sitting at 70, actually now 72 on 107.5 The Game.
Preston's hanging around for 1 more minute, 2 more minutes, but what did you two just discover here?
Well, sometimes there's marketing and they market things distinctly. We just had a cultural connection here. Coach was trying to tell us about one of his favorite movies growing up, and he kept saying that the movie was called Mean Machine, and it was a football movie about these prisoners.
American football.
American football movie about these prisoners. And Bill and I were like, I don't know about that one, Coach. He's like, no, I'm serious. It was Mean Machine. And when Bill said, do you think it's called The Longest Yard? And it was like, nah, it's Mean Machine. Well, come to find out, in England, the movie was called Mean Machine.
Stop it.
And in the United States, the movie was called The Longest Yard. So sometimes cultures can be passing each other, and maybe not necessarily. We just had a cultural connection in the studio. That was really cool because both of us were convinced that neither side knew what they were talking about. So the Mean Machine, a.k.a. The Longest Yard, or Longest Yard, a.k.a. Mean Machine. Coach, before I leave, my mind is racing about this neutral. How do you ensure? For those that weren't, if you just joined us, we were talking about Sandlot games, talking about the movie The Sandlot. Coach was talking about.
I know what's coming.
How do you ensure that the player is neutral when he or she is supposed to be neutral? Well, that seems like a recipe for disaster.
Like when I said to you, there was a lot of arguments about that. One of the biggest arguments was you're trying too hard for that team and not for us.
Yeah,
that's one argument.
So, do you have to pick the person for neutral to be? Does it have to be like an upstanding person? Is it the best person? Because that feels like a situation that could go.
It was
totally
very
wrong.
random how neutral was picked. In fact, sometimes someone would just say, "I'll be the neutral," and he'd be like, "Okay, you could be the neutral."
Yeah, but here's the thing: if I say I'm the neutral, but I'm really your friend, then we have a situation on hand, don't we?
No friends in football.
Gotcha.
You know that.
Gotcha.
But I will say this: like when we use the neutral now, it's usually when the player's coming back from injury, so you kind of ease them back into the contact and everything else. So
fascinated by this. I mean, it's the same concept as a designated quarterback. Like if you're the designated quarterback on one side, right, and you just happen to be throwing
all-time QB, all-time QB.
You're doing all-time QB over here, and all of a sudden for this squad you can't throw any balls, but on that side you can.
Yeah,
we have a lot of questions.
That did create a fight when I was younger one time because it felt like every pass that was thrown to me by the all-time quarterback was just about 2 steps ahead of me, whereas it felt like every time that it went to the other guy, it was right on the money. And finally the all-time QB was like, maybe you're just not fast enough. I was like, wait a minute now.
Oh, dude, listen, man. All right, Coach. Appreciate your time. I am going to look more into this neutral thing, and my mind is blown about that. See y'all tomorrow.
Take care. Preston Thorne out of here. He'll be back tomorrow. Coach Anna, let's talk about your team here. As I think in our previous discussions, you have felt maybe as comfortable as you felt going into a season with your roster, with your chemistry, with your culture, with what you've got returning.
This year, I think this could be a really competitive year for us. I think we've done really well in the poll, really well. I think we've picked up some real good experience. A few older players who've only got maybe a year or 2 left, but I think just experienced some winners who have been there and done it. And we've got a really good blend of, I think, our depth is better than it's ever been as well. So I'm excited about the fall.
And how does that translate to now what you're doing? Are you still recruiting? Is this kind of a dead recruiting period? I know you got the camp going on. I don't know if it's like football where basically it's recruiting 365, 24 hours a day. You're constantly on the phone or doing something as it pertains to recruiting. And I don't know if that's for the current team or if you've kind of started to move the process to what I guess would be the 2026 class.
We are down to the wire now. We've got 1 spot to fill for this season. But like I said, we're really happy with the squad where we're at. We're obviously at 26 as well. We're not at 28 like we normally are. So we've got 1 spot to fill. But obviously, I'm going to Nashville Friday to recruit.
Okay.
Big event there. So it's non-stop. I mean, now we're on to 26, 27 and trying to plan succession. So while we're still trying to get 1 guy in the door, we're now looking at 26, 27 as well.
So let me ask you this, as it pertains not to necessarily the University of South Carolina thing, but how closely did you follow the rev share bill that has recently been passed, and what are your thoughts on that for the overall game of soccer, how you think it'll impact not you, but obviously you, but overall soccer.
Yeah, I followed it closely, obviously, because it affected us pretty in a big way.
Yeah.
My thoughts, I'm not sure. We've got to see how this thing plays out, right? I mean, that's the political answer, I guess, but it's the truth. I don't know where it's going to go with it. You know, soccer at a school like ours is a focus sport, but it's not the focus, and we understand that. You know, football, baseball, basketball are way ahead of us when it comes to the rev share. Some schools have put money into their soccer programs with rev share. I don't know how much, but I know that some schools have given rev share to soccer, but those are probably schools without football who've opted in, who've got big basketball programs maybe, but then men's soccer or women's soccer is right there at those sort of schools. I'm not sure how, if any of the big schools have put rev share money into men's soccer. I don't know that. I'd presume not, if they're in the same position we are, where football makes all the money and brings all the money
For
in.
example, I would say just because you're co-SEC programs, but I'm guessing Kentucky's one, especially with basketball, which they're going to have to make a big decision. Do they want to front their basketball program, or do they want to help out their football program, or are they going to split it 50-50? But I'm guessing Kentucky would be more in your kind of boat for what they do, and baseball, I guess, as well.
Yeah, I know Kentucky were awarded more scholarships. They were awarded more than the 9.9 that is awarded in men's soccer. So I know they've got more scholarships. I'm not sure they got rev share money, because now a program can give men's soccer, if they wanted to, 28 scholarships. However, those 28 scholarships would hit against your cap of rev share. So, you know, it's not outside of the rev share money. If you give men's soccer 20 scholarships, then that hits against your cap as well. So I know there's some men's soccer programs that did get increased scholarships, like huge amounts, 20, 24, 18, a few in our division that have a lot of scholarships.
And then, obviously, moving on from that, when do you expect to release your schedule? I know you've talked about you've upgraded it. You think your program's ready for a little bit more of an upgraded schedule. I won't ask you for anything specific. We have talked about the Clemson match that is it back here, or is it?
No, it's up there.
It's up there.
Yeah.
So I know that you have we know about that one, but any idea on where you stand with putting that schedule out to start enticing people?
Hopefully soon. It's done. It's ready to go. I think they've got a timeline of release the tickets and everything else, but hopefully it'll be any day now, sorry.
And you took time out. This is, I don't want to tell you got an off week because you explained what you've been doing, but last week, the first of the Tony Annan soccer camps taking place, and this one for the younger ones. Hopefully lots of Pop-Tarts and plenty of water time along with the technical learning of soccer.
We had a great time, yeah. We had a good time. It was a good week. It was a hot week, but it was good.
You've got some more camps coming up. I know you're excited about that. You've got obviously your elite goalkeeper camp. That's in July. You got a 2-day ID camp, but more importantly for the younger ones, you've got some more junior camps coming up, and one takes place next week, the 16th through the 20th, and people can still register.
I think you can register till the end of this week. Yeah, there's still spots available in that one. Not many, but it's pretty full. And then the one in July, 7th through 11th, still has plenty of spots as well. So
if you want to register your child for that, go to Tony Annan, TAScamps.com. TASC camps.com. Yeah, my font's small, so I was trying to count the number of C's there, but TASCcamps.com. And we mentioned it June 16th through the 20th, July 7th through the 11th. You can go there. You can register right now online. And that's for your youth camps, which is really a cool one. My son Austin went to multiple of them. It's a 5-day focus of player development with top quality instructions. You bring in other coaches. Some of the players are still there.
Yeah, a lot of our players are working this year. It's good.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the Lexington kids, my son included, got to meet Junior, and I know Junior's obviously, we've talked about him on this program, a great story, but he does a phenomenal job with the kids, both being a friend, but also a mentor, and then just giving them training.
Yeah, he's class. And we've got a few other guys out there. Gabe's out there. Our couple of new transfers that came in early, they're out there as well. So it's been good this year like that.
ages 5 to 14 for that. And again, go to tasccamps.com. And again, that'll be June 16th through the 20th and July 7th through the 11th. And you can go on that website that I mentioned, tasccamps.com, to register for that. Coach, always appreciate you coming in and hanging out. A lot of knowledge this morning, as we had a good bit of soccer discussion from the USA all the way through the Premier League.
Good to be here again. Thanks.
Great to have you back, and we look forward to catching up with you in between vacations and camp, probably in the month of July.
That's right.
So, Tony Annan exiting, and Jen and I will hold down the fort here as we roll along this morning. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years they have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and it is that proven experience that gives you the peace of mind to know that their professionals will get the job done for you in a safe, pleasing, and most importantly, timely manner to make sure your operation stays dry and running long into the future. So if you need a maintenance contract, guess what? Mid-State Roofing is there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You heard that right. You can give them a phone call at 5 a.m. in the morning. You'll speak with an on-call technician, or if you give them a phone call during open business hours, you'll speak with a Mid-State Roofing employee. But whatever you do, just give them a phone call and let their professionals come and do their job. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web for more information, midstateroofing.com. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
Fort Jackson Boulevard at I-77, still a report of an accident there. Also, Main Street near Church Street, right there kind of at Main and Cedar. There is a report of an accident there as well. So caution in those areas. And as far as that forecast goes, yep, thunderstorms, that's kind of on the agenda for most afternoons or evenings. Isolated storm this afternoon with a high of 89. 88 tomorrow and Friday with evening thunderstorms possible. And that continues really into the weekend, probably be around 90, 91 throughout the weekend. But currently 72 on 107.5 The Game.
Eight zero 404-6100 if you hear anything that you want to weigh in on, whether it's via a phone call or via the text line, as Preston Thorne will be back tomorrow. Thank you again to Coach Tony Annan for joining us this morning as we went a little off on soccer there. Again, the United States, the national team, looking about as down and rock bottom as it can get right now. They lose last night 4-0 to Switzerland, and quite frankly, 4-0, it didn't even feel that close. It felt like it was more like 8-0, and you've got some criticism coming from Landon Donovan, and Christian Pulisic, and a few other players. So a lot going on where that organization seems to be in complete turmoil. And I guess normally I don't want to say we wouldn't care, but with the fact that the United States, Mexico, and Canada all hosting the World Cup next year together, you'd like our organization to be in a much more stable foundation and not have some of the inner arguments that are taking place currently. And then also got into a little bit of a Tottenham update. Hopefully, Jen, you can go back and tell Trent all of that and give him maybe some scoop he's not aware of.
Absolutely. Now he'll be thrilled with those updates, and I'll make sure to have Tony Annan up there, the podcast up here shortly, so people who missed that update and all of the goodness of Mr. Annan, that'll be up on the podcast page shortly.
Very relaxed was he today as he is gearing up, should have a very strong team. Expectations for him are going to be very high this coming season. Expectations for the program are going to be very high. I don't think that it's hard to quantify what kind of offseason he's had. They did win the Spring Carolina Cup that they hosted, or they partnered with, along with Gardner-Webb, Davidson, Wofford, and UNCW, and they did end up winning that. So they had a very good offseason. Speaking of having a good offseason, CBS Sports has an article up. This came out on June the 8th. Carter Bonds putting it out. Again, it's on CBS Sports. Title is College Football Teams Generating Major Buzz. It says Texas, Michigan among hype trains rolling ahead of 2025 season. And that is true. You also have a few other teams. Texas Tech. And I'll read you just a little bit of this. It says there's a new player in the NIL arms race at Texas Tech as it ramps up its spending across all sports. Nowhere was that more evident than the football program. Seemingly out of nowhere, the Red Raiders built the nation's second-ranked transfer portal class with 13 blue-chip additions, the most of any team in the country. It says the Big 12 is as wide open as any conference, and Joey McGuire's squad is well-positioned to take advantage of the logjam and emerge as the league's top college football playoff contender on the heels of its splashy offseason. So there's Texas Tech on there. It also has the team that won the bowl game against South Carolina, Illinois. And, again, this is kind of why I thought that bowl game might carry a little bit of importance, just a little bit. Maybe you would disagree just from the fact that you wanted South Carolina to fly under the radar. Illinois listed here as a team with incredible offseason momentum, and it says returning the vast majority of a roster that last year notched the fifth 10-win season in school program history is a recipe for success. Illinois kept its defensive core intact and brought Luke Altmaier, one of the Big Ten's top quarterbacks, back for 2025 and fueled hype for what it looks like one of the most highly anticipated seasons of Fighting Illini football to date. Brett Bielema has been a lightning rod all spring. Well, y'all know that. We know that. He started that back in December. All spring with a zesty college football take on social media, which only drew more attention to the program he built into more than just a dark horse playoff hopeful. Miami's on the list, and then right there with Miami, South Carolina. This is why I'm reading the article, not to tell you about Texas Tech or Illinois or Miami. So South Carolina on this list, and I'll read you what it says. The young tandem of quarterback Lenore Sellers and edge rusher Dylan Stewart is the source of extreme optimism at South Carolina. That duo helped the Gamecocks build a compelling playoff resume last fall, and following their exclusion as the fourth team out of the playoff field, they have something to prove in their second year. The defense lost loads of key talent to the NFL draft, but the excitement around the program and the returning stars largely overshadowed those departures. And we talked a lot about this yesterday, how South Carolina replaces those players. Kyle Kennard, the interior guys, and TJ Sanders, in Alex Huntley, in Tonka Hemingway. We talked about having to replace Demetrius Knight and Bam Martin Scott at the linebacking position, and of course the physical freak that was Nick Eamon-Worry. We talked a lot about that yesterday, and I'll tell you what, Jen, I'm going to call for the Greg McElroy clip from yesterday, number 2 on Clayton White, because as Greg McElroy, as you'll hear, as Greg McElroy will say, listen, Clayton White has become one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, and this is why he has a big belief in South Carolina's defense being one of the better units nationally. And here's Greg McElroy on his podcast talking about South Carolina defensive coordinator Clayton White.
Clayton White, their defensive coordinator, has done an amazing job. I think he does such a solid job of making sure that his defensive backs are extremely physical, his safeties are really versatile, and he allows those defensive linemen to pin their ears back and get after the opposing quarterback. He's been there for 5 years. He understands exactly where he is. He's constantly in the running for the Broyles Award, and rightfully so. The guy.
So you hear Greg McElroy talking about that there with Clayton White. And, I mean, this is a guy who has been criticized at the University of South Carolina, who people questioned at the end of 2023. He bounces back with an incredible unit with he does, by the way, I think is an underrated recruiter. And J.C. Sherbert was on with us yesterday, and one of the things he also talked about was the vision for his defense to go along with Torian Gray and Sterling Lucas and Travian Robertson, but the vision he has for the kind of player he wants, what he is looking for in a defensive back, what he's looking for in a linebacker, what he prefers in defensive linemen. And I think that's a key part that we don't discuss enough about Clayton White, is that he's not just out there taking players, just random bodies, guys that he thinks might be good athletes. He's taking guys that fit that mold. You look at the South Carolina secondary that they've got and the way that those guys are built, and I'm not saying every one of them fits the mold, but there's no doubt when you talk about guys in the secondary that are long, KJ Johnson, who they just got a commitment from, is 6'2", 175 pounds. Jazavion Currents, one of the other safeties committed right now, has good size and length. He fits that mold in particular. You've seen South Carolina going to more of a speed linebacker instead of a bigger linebacker type feel. By the way, Jazavion Currents, 6'3", 205. So you see them building guys, bringing guys in that fit a particular mold for what they want in the secondary. Again, fit a particular mold for what they want at linebacker. And that's one thing that I give Clayton White a lot of credit for. Is it not just going out and being a guy that knows how to design plays, draw up blitzes, how to confuse quarterbacks, but also because it is a vision shared by the staff of, hey, if you find this kind of guy, let's check him out and let's get an offer to him because he fits the mold of the player we want. But again, going back to this and talking about this article on CBS Sports, South Carolina in there, and they have generated a lot of buzz. You've seen Lenore Sellers, I think, as high up as number 4 in mock NFL drafts. We've seen South Carolina anywhere from about 18 to number 7 in way too early rankings. You've seen the hype that's already building again for certain different players, Dylan Stewart being one of them for South Carolina. So it's going to be a really good next 2 months, if you will, from today through about the first week of fall camp, that South Carolina continues to build on that momentum. Also in this article, Clemson listed as a team who has had a very strong offseason and built momentum. CBS Sports writes, Dabo Swinney is nearly 7 years removed from his second national championship, but after a long stretch that saw his Clemson program slip from its pedestal, he has a behemoth of a 2025 roster that could get back to the mountaintop. Cade Klubnik might be college football's top quarterback after he improved throughout last season, and his stacked receiving core will only help him reach the next level as a Heisman contender. Expected improvements on defense with Tom Allen taking over the unit will make the Tigers as well-rounded as anyone. So there's just a couple teams on the list. Also, you've got Auburn on his list, Penn State, Florida, Oklahoma, LSU, Texas, and Michigan, all part of the CBS Sports article of the 12 teams, the teams that are generating hype here in the offseason. And again, South Carolina, part of that group. 803-404-6100. If you want to weigh in this morning, we'll come back. U.S. Open is tomorrow, and the people that are talking about this course, the rough, we'll hear a little audio as well. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. You've heard me talking about Jacob, how he helped me years ago, about 5 years ago, get the proper loan, the interest rate, everything that I needed for my condo on Lake Murray. And you know what? I still vouch for him today because it was such a great experience. You just need to give him a phone call and find out how he can help you right now. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands. So what does that mean? Well, it means if you're looking to build a home, if you're looking to refinance a home, if you're looking to purchase a new home, Jacob has local decision makers for quick and precise underwriting. But you got to give him a phone call today and speak with him. 803-719-1005. Find out what options are available to you with Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. Call him today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
Bush River Road near St. Andrews Road, we have a report of an accident there. Also, Fort Jackson Boulevard at I-77. And Main Street near Church Street, also a report of an accident there. Louis Road near Peachtree Street, Lexington County. There appears to be an accident there that could be impacting traffic. 89 with some afternoon isolated storms today. Afternoon and evening storms tomorrow and Friday. 88 both days, going to be basically 89 to about 91 throughout the weekend with those afternoon shower possibilities. Currently, though, the sun's working its way out, 72 on the early game.
Eight zero 404-6100. We'll get into some U.S. Open talk here. Johnson Wagner yesterday talking about the dangers lurking on the left of the 7th fairway at Oakmont. The rough there, absolutely insane, and we'll get into that. But let's get out to the phone lines real quick. Ray wants to weigh in on baseball programs, including Coastal. Ray, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Hey, doing good, Bill. Doing good, Jen. Yeah, well, I'll talk about three things. The first thing, on the baseball, I remember, I guess, I don't know, it was a couple months ago, how the conversation was, about our baseball team being the Gamecocks, how it seemed like, well, it doesn't seem like we slipped, and how all the teams around, the schools around us have just gotten that much better. We were talking about Georgia, Clemson, and North Carolina. I think at the time they were like top 10 type of programs. We all forgot to mention Coastal Carolina. But wow, that's incredible, and I wish them the best. And man, I've been to a couple games. My dad lives there in Rose Inlet, and they have a beautiful facility, and they really take baseball seriously there. But that's another team, it's just amazing. But you're right, the talent around us has gotten so much better. Talking about the schools, I mean, we got to step our game up next year. Just want to throw that in. And I heard you talking about Clayton White earlier. I'll tell you, Bill, if Clayton goes out and has another top 10, even a top 15 type of defense like he did last year, he's already highly regarded, of course. But I think that'll put him in another stratosphere where, man, there may be some bigger programs come around with some big, big dollars. So if it does happen, I'm sure we'll pay to keep him for sure. Somebody else comes after him. And to go on to the U.S. Open, I'm wondering if Scheffler is getting close. Now, I know this is putting pressure on somebody, but I wonder if he's getting close to being mentioned kind of like Tiger. Because I can remember, out in Vegas, I was out there one time because my parents lived on the West Coast, and you literally could bet on one of the majors. I can't remember which one it was. You could take Tiger versus the field. Now, I'm wondering if the odds are going to start changing like that for Scheffler, if it's going to be Scheffler versus the field. But his game is looking just excellent of late. But, hey, thanks for letting me chime in, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate the phone call. And you're right. As Kevin Schnall said yesterday, the last, I forget the exact number of years, Coastal matches up with pretty much anybody in the country. They have a national championship to their credit. Obviously, they'll have a chance to win one. They, in my opinion, and I don't know if everybody would agree with this, I feel like they ended up on the right side of the bracket. You're going to avoid Arkansas and LSU. I think that's huge for them. So I think, obviously, that's the side that you kind of wanted to be in. Jamie Bradford and I believe it's John Whittle have mentioned specifically that they think that Arkansas is the best team in the country. So if you can get them all the way and only have to deal with them in the College World Series final, maybe you're catching a break. Louisville and Oregon State, the other two teams on the Coastal side of the bracket. And reminder, Coastal play at 2 o'clock on Friday on ESPN. Louisville and Oregon State will follow that at 7 o'clock. But it does feel a little bit like Coastal kind of avoided the tough, in my opinion, the tougher side of the bracket. Just to give an example of that, there's 3 national seeds on the other side of the bracket, UCLA, LSU, and Arkansas, and then, of course, the Cinderella Murray State program, as opposed to the Coastal side of the bracket where Arizona and Louisville are not national seeds. Coastal is number 13, and Oregon is number 8 in terms of national seeds. So we'll see how it plays out and certainly talk more about it tomorrow and Friday. But also talking a little PGA golf, and you heard him talking about Scotty Scheffler. I'm excited. I really, I've watched a lot of golf live. I've actually, the Golf Channel live from the U.S. Open, talking about these roughs, talking about this course in particular. I'm kind of geeked up for this one a little bit because they're making it sound like this course is borderline unplayable with the way the rough is. And this is from the Golf Channel. This is Johnson Wagner, not just talking about the 7th hole in particular, but talking about the entire course and how difficult it is. Here is what he had to say. This is to me going to be fun, and Chris weighs in and says the rough is so deep you can lose an infant. Like I said, I'm of the opinion I would like to see at this tournament. I would like to see golfers struggle. I want to see scores of even or even plus strokes here, and I think that's what we're going to get. And to watch Scotty Scheffler, to watch Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka is a guy that I always keep an eye on in opens like this. Xander Schauffele, who hadn't been playing his best this year, how does he perform? Is this a tournament Justin Thomas can go out and win? So many great names right now. One name that I didn't throw out, and there was a lot of audio from him yesterday. But this is Rory McIlroy talking about the difficulty of the course, how the course is kind of evolving and changing, and having to make 2 birdies in a practice round just to feel good about his round. Here's a little bit from Rory McIlroy. I'm telling you, I've watched a lot of this week. It's going to get going nice and early tomorrow morning. I think it's going to be a fantastic tournament. Right now, kind of what Ray just asked when you talk about Scotty versus the field. I don't know if I'd take the field, honestly, this week. I mean, Scotty Scheffler is certainly the favorite, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But tomorrow we'll be on air when a couple of these groups go off, and it's going to be a lot of fun, again, to kind of follow that and have it on the TV here. Rory McIlroy, Justin Rose, and Shane Lowry is going to be a tee time at 7:40 tomorrow morning. Xander Schauffele and Bryson DeChambeau going off at 7:29. I'm definitely interested to see how DeChambeau plays this. Tomorrow afternoon, Jordan Spieth, John Rahm, and Dustin Johnson will tee off at 1:14. You've got the group of Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, and Victor Hovland going off at 1:25 tomorrow afternoon. I think this is going to be really entertaining. By the way, they get going at 6:45, bright and early tomorrow morning. But as we've talked about, I've thought golf has been on a roll, especially with the people who really enjoy it, i.e. me. But I feel like with Rory winning the Masters, you had I know we had the tournaments around here, but Justin Thomas winning the Heritage, the PGA Championship up in Quail Hollow, which, was what it was. But again, it maybe didn't. I think the course took away from maybe the excitement of it a little bit. Oakmont is going to be great. I think the rough is going to make it fun. If you love watching golfers struggle, even though they're playing on what sounds like a historically tough course. We'll see if that holds to be true. But if you love golfers really struggling and looking more like us who go out and hack it around and make a 5 or a 6 or a 7, I think you're going to really, really enjoy this tournament. If you like seeing -10s, -12s, -15s win a tournament and constant birdies, don't think you're going to be in for this tournament. But again, I think it's going to be a really good time, and excited to have it on television and be following it while we're doing the show tomorrow so that we can see some of the things and kind of relate back to them. And again, just fun. It's going to be a fun tournament, Jen. Oakmont's a prestigious course, has hosted several different majors in its lifetime, or several different U.S. Opens, I should say. Actually, I've seen the clips, and maybe I should have pulled it, but 1994, the last U.S. Open for Arnold Palmer. I'm not going to lie to you. They showed a clip yesterday. I was watching from the house, and it was the post it was actually a really interesting story. It was the post-round interview with him, and they were showing soccer that afternoon. They were going to show a soccer match. ESPN was. They were going to cut away at 2:55. Arnold Palmer finished up at 2:57. The producer told Chris Berman the interview was off. They were not going to do the interview, and they were going to throw it straight to the soccer match in Chicago. Chris Berman overrode the decision, defied his bosses at ESPN, and instead threw it down to, I believe it was Mark Rolfing, for an interview, for Palmer's interview. Very emotional. I might have started getting dust in the room I was in, teared up a little bit, had a few tears go down. It was really emotional, really cool to see, and it's a great story behind it about how Chris Berman basically told ESPN, I'm doing this, do to me whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. Give him justice. I mean, he deserved that interview.
803-404-6100. We'll come back and wrap everything up here. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Are you ready to keep that house nice and clean this summer? Let's be honest, you don't always be cleaning your house. You want to hang out with the kids. Maybe you want to be out by the pool or the lake. But you know that house with the kids and the pets and even you is going to start to get dirty. So you need some professionals. You need someone like Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning to come in and keep the carpets, the area rugs, the tile, the upholstery all looking insanely clean. And with their patented ZR water technology that does not leave behind a sticky, soapy residue, instead, it only leaves clean behind, that's exactly what you get. So call today, 803-262-4020. Mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 15% off all cleaning services. That's right, carpets, air ducts, area rugs, and more. Just call today and mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and get 15% off all cleaning services. You can also book online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean. Final few minutes of the Wednesday episode. Again, big thank you to Tony Annan for joining us this morning. And if you didn't hear that, Jen will have that up on our podcast page. JM Case weighs in on the Twitter account and says, Coach Tony is radio gold, by the way. And it was fun having him back in here as he is working his way through the offseason. I mentioned in the previous two segments that South Carolina's football team was part of CBS Sports. One of CBS Sports articles regarding teams that have momentum building for 2025. Well, I think if they had an article like that for college soccer, it would be Tony Annan's ball club as well. And they have had a very good spring winning the Carolina Cup, and we had a chance to catch up with him about that this morning. Obviously, I mentioned if you have a son or daughter who wants to attend a Tony Annan Gamecock camp, you can do that. 2 more sessions for 5 through 14-year-olds. One coming up next week, June 16th through the 20th, and July 7th through the 11th. All you need to go is to tasccamps.com, and you can register there. It's a 5-day camp, as I've mentioned. My son Austin attended for a couple years and had an absolute blast. Coach Annan does a phenomenal job with the kids. He has some absolutely phenomenal coaches that are out there, and he has some players as well. And it's always really cool for that particular age group to go and meet players that then you can take them to the games this coming fall, and they get to see the coaches or the players that actually worked with them when they were at camp. So if you want to get a child registered, ages 5 to 14, you can do that. Go to tasccamps.com and register today. Again, June 16th through the 20th, so next week, and there are still spots available for next week, or July 7th through the 11th. And again, thank you to Tony Annan for joining us this morning. Also got into today being the 1-year anniversary. Preston and I and Jen got into this, the 1-year anniversary of the hirings of Paul Maneri and Ashley Chastain Woodard. And look, it's a 1-year thing. College sports are 1 year right now. Just because you had a phenomenal year this year doesn't mean you're going to be able to sustain it. Not with the transfer portal, not with NIL, all the things that can break apart your roster or things that can go wrong. We've seen that. Lamont Paris has been kind of the perfect example of that in terms of the first year having to try and put a roster together, not having the success he would have liked. Year 2, that roster does come together and has more success than we'd ever seen in the regular season, the most regular season wins ever at the University of South Carolina. And then last year, obviously, you don't have the roster you like and things kind of fall apart. So the fact of how things went this year for both Paul Maneri and for Ashley Chastain Woodard, well, we know how both went. One was phenomenal. One was absolutely abysmal. But that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And I mentioned this, Paul Maneri yesterday, picking up a baseball commitment, a pitcher from Virginia. They have now brought in 6 different pitchers now, or 6 new pitchers for the coming season. This one is pitcher Bradley Hodges, who had 36 strikeouts in 27 and 2/3 innings last year. He will come from Virginia. Again, we mentioned the Chris Pollard heading to Virginia situation, kind of crazy situation there. But South Carolina has been active in the transfer portal. Josh, I believe Gunther is the guy that they signed out of Wake Forest, are bringing in, and high expectations for him as coming in and trying to be the closer there. But South Carolina has been very active, and we'll talk more about that as we continue to watch the evolution of the transfer portal for Paul Maneri, Monty Lee, and the whole group there over at Founders Park. So fun day. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's going to be busy again tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll start to look at the U.S. Open. It'll be on while we are on. We'll look back at a must-win game, in my opinion, for the Indiana Pacers tonight, 8:30 on ABC. It's a massive one up in Indiana. I kind of side with them getting the victory, but we'll talk about it tomorrow morning. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. Let me tell you what. The thing that stands about Mid-State Roofing is their dedication to the people they service, or to you. If you haven't had service, they are there for you 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. You heard that right. You can call them right now, 8:55. They're on the clock, so you'll speak with a Mid-State Roofing employee. But if you find a leak, if you discover a leak and you have an issue at, say, 5 a.m., 4 a.m., when you give Mid-State Roofing a call, you'll speak with an on-call technician. So you're going to get somebody with Mid-State Roofing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that doesn't matter where you live, whether it's here in Columbia or Florence or Aiken or Augusta or Myrtle Beach or Greenville. You call Mid-State Roofing, they are ready to help you. So give them a phone call when necessary, or call them today and line up a maintenance contract. 803-356-1919. That's 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com, for more information. Give Mid-State Roofing a call today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you.